Welcome back to the news at 10. The federal government is set to bring back toll gates on federal roads years after they were pulled down. The Minister of Works and Housing, who gave the hint at an interaction with correspondents at the State House after the weekly Federal Executive Council meeting in Abuja. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo presided over the last part of the meeting as President Buhari had to leave for South Africa for a 3-day state visit. Our correspondent Ibrahim Adra reports.
President Muhammadu Buhari presiding over the early part of the Federal Executive Council meeting before departing for South Africa. Vice President Professor Yemi Osinbajo steered the meeting to a conclusion. 2 road contracts awarded in 2010 in Oyo and Niger states were reviewed.
The first one is an approval for the augmentation of the contract for dualization of Ibadan, Lagere, Iremo, and Ilesha bypass in Oyo State. And I think it's seeking for an augmentation from 6.7 billion naira to 9.8 billion naira.
The Minister of Works and Housing explains why contract reviews are necessary.
The price of cement, we all know, has changed. The price of petrol has changed. Diesel has changed. Minimum wage now is being reviewed. It will impact some contracts. So that's the reason for, ultimately the contractor says, I can't continue.
Talking about other issues relating to road construction and maintenance in the country, Mr. Fashola says toll gates will come back.
There is no law that prohibits tolling in Nigeria today. We expect to return toll plazas. We have concluded their designs of what they will look like, what material they will be built with, what new considerations must go into them. What we are looking at now and trying to conclude is how the back end runs. And that is important because we want to limit significantly, if not totally eliminate, cash.
Tolls were pulled down across the country over a decade ago. The new plan, according to the minister, includes ensuring a proper ticketing system and the need to avoid delays at the tolls. From the presidential villa, Ibrahim Adra, Channels Television News.
And indeed, the official jet of the president has arrived at the Waterkloof Air Force Base in Pretoria, South Africa, ahead of his 2-day state visit that would include a meeting with President Cyril Ramaphosa. The president, who is accompanied by the governors of Kano, Plateau, and Ebonyi states, was received by the South African Minister for International Relations and Cooperation, Naledi Pandor, and the Minister for Social Development, Lindiwe Zulu. President Buhari begins his state visit on Thursday with a military ceremony at the Union Building with his host, President Cyril Ramaphosa. Among issues in focus are the cooperation between both countries, next steps to curb the repeated attacks on Nigerians and other foreign nationals. Back home, the Senate and the House of Representatives Joint Committee on Finance is inviting the Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Mr. Godwin Emefiele, to appear before the committee to give account of stamp duties electronically collected. To beg your pardon, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Mr. Femi Gbajabiamila, has directed ad hoc committees of the House to conclude their activities and submit their reports before October 14th, while the ad hoc committees on the Niger Delta Development Commission, Ports and Harbors are to conclude their investigations and submit their reports by Friday, October 4th. The Speaker gave the directive during the inauguration of the Special and Standing Committees of the House of Representatives today. Our correspondent, Terry Ikumi, has more.
Over 2 months after naming the leadership of 109 committees, the Speaker of the House of Representatives arrives the lower chamber for the inauguration of the Special and Standing Committees of the House. This is the first time committees will be inaugurated jointly in the Green Chamber.
Do admit into the chambers of the House.
But first, a motion is moved to admit invited guests. Among the guests are the former Speaker of the House of Representatives and a former clerk to the National Assembly.
Members of the Parliament, members of the legislature are not auditors. When it is time to audit, you have the staff that are supposed to be visiting these ministries and entities. But it is not for legislators to begin to talk to government ministries.
It was instructive, and I dare say, perhaps for a reason, that in allocating powers to the three arms of government, the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, listed the legislature ahead of both the executive and the judiciary.
In delivering his speech, the Speaker charges the lawmakers to be responsible in discharging their duties.
Whatever the judgment of history will be for this 9th House of Representatives, whether for good or bad, will depend largely on the conduct and the activities of the committees we are inaugurating today.
He also speaks on collaboration with the ministries, departments, and agencies for an effective oversight function.
It is only through our joint efforts that we can meet the objectives of this administration and keep the promises we have made to the Nigerian people. We in the House of Representatives intend without reservation to exercise the full authority of the legislature as it relates to the oversight of the MDAs.
Following the inauguration of the standing committees, the ad hoc committees are now expected to submit their reports before the 14th of October 2019, while those on the Niger Delta Development Commission and Ports and Harbors are to submit theirs by Friday, the 4th of October 2019. Terry Ikumi, Channels Television News.
Resilience, quality, and excellence are three key words used to describe the factors behind the success story of Sujimoto, a luxury real estate and construction company as it marks 5 years of operations in Nigeria. The anniversary party was held in Lagos with attendance cutting across players in the building industry, customers of Sujimoto, family members, and well-wishers.
Fine luxury living was the goal of our team.
5 years ago, the dream to redefine luxury living was conceived. Today, the success of Sujimoto Construction is the reason for this gathering, with notable figures from the private and public sectors. It's a night of glitz and glamour. Besides food and drinks, guests are entertained with various stage performances of magical experience. A young and dynamic Shijibomi Ogundele is the Chief Executive Officer of what has turned out to be a leading brand in the industry. For him, the story of Sujimoto is a manifestation of resilience.
It has taken us 5 years of surrounding ourselves with the best, of raising and losing capital, of understanding the market, product development, market confidence. We chose the pain of discipline, identifying 3 fundamental ingredients for success: quality, integrity, and diligence.
And the future offers much more to those who love comfort and luxury.
One of our most exciting projects would be the tallest residential building in Nigeria, where true luxury would be comparable to what we find at the #1 Hyde Park in London or the Address in Dubai.
Guests, including the governor of Ogun State, offer their goodwill messages and encouragement to the young and successful entrepreneur.
Suji, I want to thank God for your life. Again, I say this is just the beginning of many, many, many more things to come. Just continue to be focused, continue to be resilient, continue to have the right attitude, continue to aim high. The sky is not the limit. The sky should just be the beginning.
Giuliano by Sujimoto and 8 ultra-luxurious terrace duplexes in Banana Island represent Sujimoto architectural ingenuity in real estate development. In nurturing the Sujimoto brand, the management says its interactions are guided by the company's core values of diligence, innovation, opportunity, and hard work.
That takes us to more business news. Here's Kayode Okukiolu.
You First. First Bank.
Thank you, Amarachi, and you're welcome to Business News. The central bank has sanctioned 12 banks operating in Nigeria for failing to meet the September 30th deadline for 60% minimum loan-to-deposit ratio. The lenders, which include 3 international banks, 4 Tier 1 listed banks, and 5 unlisted banks, were slammed a total of 499.17 million naira by the CBN for their inability to meet the LDR target, which expired on Monday this week. On Tuesday, the financial market regulator raised the loan-to-deposit ratio of banks to 65% after the September 30th deadline given to the banks to meet its 60% directive. At the same time, the CBN gave its regulated entities December the 31st, 2019 deadline to meet its new requirement. And the World Bank has appointed Mr. Shubham Chaudhary as the new country director for Nigeria, succeeding Mr. Rachid Ben Masood, who completed his term recently. According to a statement by the World Bank in Abuja today, Chaudhary, who assumed office on Tuesday, October the 1st, had been practice manager in macroeconomics and fiscal management global practice for the South Asia region. In his new position, Chaudhary's top priorities will be to lead the strategic dialogue with government, development partners, and other key stakeholders. He is also expected to help develop and implement the new country partnership framework and provide customized solutions and policy advice to Nigeria. Well, the senior country director of the African Development Bank, Mr. Ibrahima Fall, is advocating the adoption of a public-private partnership that will eliminate gender disparity. Well, according to him, the adoption of an all-inclusive PPP process will provide infrastructure for marginalized persons, which include women and girls. Well, speaking at the Conference on Integration of Gender in PPP Processes in Abuja, Mr. Fall also listed key decisions taken by the AFDB to provide infrastructure for women and girls across the continent. And moving over to the NSE, investor in the equities market opened the first trading day in October with a heavy drop in all-share index, as well as a 154 billion naira loss in total market value. Edidi Ogiwan now tells us more.
Hello and welcome to the Stock Market Report. It's a bloody Wednesday for global markets, and the market here in Nigeria is not left out as the NSE starts the new month in the negative territory. The all-share index was down 1.14%, led by a whopping 4.51% drop from the banking sector as the CBN penalizes 12 banks for failure to meet September 30 deadline for new 60% loan-to-deposit ratio. Now, that counter was not the only sector that posted losses for the day. Oil and gas was down 2.01%, while consumer goods shed 1.24%. On the flip side, insurance and industrial goods closed positive. Our total turnover of shares traded today were lower compared with Monday's session, as 175.77 million shares worth 2.56 billion naira changed hands in 3,539 transactions. On the list of top trades are GT Bank, Transcorp, and Nascon, while these are the top 3 gainers and losers for the day. Well, global markets were rattled today by the negative news of U.S. jobs data. That's midweek trading at the Nigerian equities market. I'm Edidiong Iwang.
Well, thank you, Didiong. Speaking of global markets, renewed fears over global economic slowdown forced major world stock markets into negative terrain at the close of today's trading session, as Wall Street extends its rough start for the month. Here are some of the figures. Thank you for watching Business News Tonight. I am Kayode Okukiolu. The news at 10 continues with Amarachi.
Still ahead on the news at 10, a look at international news and around the world in 5. Plus, defending champions Nigeria drawn against Cote d'Ivoire, Zambia and South Africa in Group B of 2019 Under-23 Africa Cup of Nations in Egypt. In sports news, please stay with us.